It's a very special 4th of July today, as Bitcoin has done something unthinkable for this beautiful day of 4th of July. By the way, happy to all 4th of July celebrators out there. If you hate 4th of July, well, we hate you. No, just kidding. It's all good. But I should let you know that, of course, because it is 4th of July, as with any holiday, we are going to do a 20% off sale period for any one of the programs or services that you can find in the Teachable link in the description below. The code is... What is the code? It's USA. It's USA in all capitals. Yes, indeed. All right, nice and easy to remember. And now let's get on with the actual analysis. So in yesterday's video and the day prior than that, and I believe for like the past week or so now, we've been having about the same thread of analysis. We were looking for this current week to open up with a bit of a pullback. We got that pullback, and then with very specific interest on the, I think it was 108,900-ish strike for yesterday's closure, we were looking at that as a potential breakout region, which if Bitcoin could close above, Bitcoin would essentially initiate an actual technical breakout here. And what do you know? Bitcoin did indeed close above that number, resolving the 2-day time frame, not just as a bullish engulfing dildo right here, trading below the low of the prior and closing above the high of the prior, but also bringing Bitcoin above that most recent price action pivot level. Now, you won't be able to see it right here as it was before. It was pivoted on the 16th of June's high, which was 108,900. But you can still see this downward sloping trend line here from the price action pivots indicator. It's more or less one and the same. And yes, we can confirm that Bitcoin has indeed broken above there. Now, of course, breakouts fail all the time, but this does give a bias towards general upside price action. And of course, with Bitcoin, hanging around here on a holiday weekend, which today is more or less a non-trading day. I mean, U.S. markets won't be open later today, so I suspect it will be relatively slow. We probably could expect a bit of a short-term pullback here, perhaps reconnecting with that breakout level on the price action pivots indicator, which is now downward sloping at around 108,500-ish region. That could also be constituted as a reconnect with the red 5 EMA here as well, which Bitcoin loves to do, especially on relatively higher term timeframes like this, like the 2-day time frame. And that's a little bit lower, closer to about 108 even. So somewhere in that pocket right there, is reasonable to be expecting on a short-term pullback. But at the same time, we would be expecting a bounce from that region if this is indeed real and if it is going to have fall through to the upside. That is to say, if you do see Bitcoin decently below 108, especially on a daily closing basis, something else is going on and we have a trap situation on our hands. But until then, bullish engulfing plus back above a most recent price action pivots high, that does look good or good enough for general, upside buys here. On top of that, we did have this meta signal setup, which fired off, I believe it was a couple days ago. This one fired off when Bitcoin was $106,140. And target number one and target number two obviously been massively hit right here. Target number three, however, getting very, 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 very close in yesterday's rally. That one was 110,769 with a just under 32.5% probability to be hit. When it gets that close, like you see right here, and then kind of backs away, I am inclined to think that Bitcoin's going to play out a bit of a, like I said, sideways and short-term downside consolidation before potentially, popping back up to that region. But let's talk about what to expect in the event of a failure here, because obviously that can happen. Nothing's 100% probability. And seeing as, again, this setup got very, 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 very close to its third and final target. It's like how much more juice can you squeeze from this rock? I do want to go back into this chart right here and say that, hey, if you see Bitcoin closing dailies below, especially like 108 or so, especially if it's like 107.5, let's say, at that point, very likely Bitcoin is going to undo this rally that we saw in the early portion of this week. You're probably looking at price action back down to about 105.7-ish region, maybe a short-term bounce there. But I do think at that point, it is reasonable to expect price action will come all the way back down to the bottom end of that regression channel that Bitcoin was operating in before. And let's just call it somewhere around like $102,000, give or take $1,000 from that number. But again, as long as Bitcoin is not below that very critical pivot that we just spoke about, all good, and general upside is assumed here. And I do want to also acknowledge that the 3-day time frame, I believe, yes, indeed, it did confirm that hidden bullish. I mean, that one's already obviously played out. There was another time frame though that was suggesting that maybe it was over here on CME. I swear we had this from yesterday's video, but perhaps I am. Yes, it was on the 2-day time frame. The 2-day time frame, which by the way, CME is actually trading today, but it should be very, very slow. It did confirm a drive of hidden bullish evidence as well. So, if you are bullish, this is essentially the chance for the Bitcoin boo laws, and you are really looking for continuation to the upside, realistically to new all-time highs, I would say no more than a week from now. And you probably want that like earlier rather than later. So short-term pullback, it would look good if it was over this weekend. And then perhaps early this next coming week, if Bitcoin is going to be bullish, we really would be expecting, another try to the upside. Anyways, other than that, yes, so we got that. I wanted to bring back one of the setups here that I have not spoken about in a long time, because we actually haven't seen one of these happen in a long time. But it's one of the most powerful setups that we do speak about on this channel. If you've been on this channel for, certainly more than like the past 6 months to a year, you already know where I'm going with this. It is the 5-day volatility versus stochastic momentum chart. We're actually going to combine this with the 2-day time frame as well, both of which do have some pretty compelling things going on. So 5-day time frame, if you're not familiar with it, what we're looking for is for 5-day BBWP representing volatility to get down below extreme lows, which I define as 15% or lower for the 5-day time frame. Once it's down below there, we look at that as like maximum contraction, and the next print that brings it back above that 15 percentile level is when we essentially say, hey, this thing is expanding, and we go ahead and reference the direction of the 5-day stochastic oscillator, and whatever direction it's going in is a very, very, very high probability direction for Bitcoin's next explosive move. And when I say explosive move, I'm talking like 30 to on the lower end, like 30% move, on the upper end, as much as like 50 or a little bit more than 50% move over the course of about a month and a half. Now, I've gone through this data throughout the whole history of Bitcoin here, and I have bifurcated these setups between long and short setups for the 5-day time frame. We're going to focus on the on the long setups for right now, because the long setup, I guess, is, well, actually right now it's technically less likely, but if we do see volatility start to expand and Bitcoin is above the 5-day momentum pivot, which actually is closing tonight, by the way, which is 110,228, which actually doesn't bode too well with the short-term pullback as we'd be expecting. But if Bitcoin can pop back above there by end of day, we actually probably do have one of these setups brewing, meaning that we can be looking for a very high probability direction to the upside. Again, as of right now, it's actually positioned to the downside. But whenever we've seen volatility start to expand, which right now it is still contracting, to be fair, we need to see it, really have an abrupt move back above that 15 percentile number. But if we did see that happen alongside Bitcoin back above 110,225, then we could apply these stats to the upside, which the average return for these setups has been about just under 42%. Anytime that we've seen one of the long setups fire off, they've actually always worked out. I don't always expect that to be the truth, but for right now, out of 16 prior setups, yeah, all 16 when we had volatility expansion confirmed and the 5-day stochastic oscillator position to the upside, those were all of your major, massive upside movements. And like I said, around a 42% average return with a standard deviation of just under 12%. So, that would be absolutely fucking massive from here. Again, as of right now, it actually is positioned to the downside. This, if it does expand from here, it actually is more likely to be to the downside. But if it were to, again, close today above 110,225, just put a number on it, 40% to the upside puts Bitcoin where? I mean, that puts Bitcoin at like 150. And the timing of this, we expect on average about 10 bars, and 10 bars on 34 days. Again, so that's just over a month. So that would put us into what? That would put us into the middle point of August, which is kind of what I've been thinking for this market. Like late August to late September is where I'm kind of looking for the next major high. Maybe it is a macro high. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I think it definitely has possibility to be in the macro high, but extremely likely to be a major high. Again, I do think between about the middle portion or late portion of August to the late portion of September. All right. On top of this, the 2-day time frame is also on the verge of firing off. This one has been in a contracted phase for a very long time here, as you can see. This one has been, in single-digit percentiles BBWP since all of June, basically. And as of right now, the 2-day time frame stochastic oscillator is positioned to the upside. What we're missing here is volatility expansion. So we need to see this get back above 15 percentile. If it does, and this is still positioned to the upside, which the 2-day time frame stochastic oscillator is going to show upside momentum as long as Bitcoin's above 106,700, then we have both of these setups working in the same direction, and that is typically when you get the big ones, so to speak. And if I go over here, I've done the same thing for the 2-day time frame setups. Again, I've bifurcated it between long and short. Now, this one is not 100% historical probability. This one is 17 out of 21, so that's like just under 81%. Still pretty good, but ultimately, not as good as a 5-day. It's a 2-day time frame, like it's less than half of the 5-day time frame, of course. Anyways, the average return on this one has been about 27.73% with a standard deviation of 10.28. And And this one takes obviously a lot less time on average, about 19 days. So, if this were to play out to the upside, which right now it is, right now the stochastic is positioned to the upside, but we need to see that volatility expansion. Where would we kind of be looking for? Let me actually reference these numbers again. Yeah, 2773. That would again put Bitcoin, that's like 135 to 140-ish region within, about 3 weeks. So that would be last couple weeks of this month of July. If that were to happen from here, obviously last week of July, if it literally happened from here. Right now it's not happening, but we can see these setups brewing in the background. And I really want to bring these setups back for the OGs of this channel right now, because you've seen these fire off a million fucking times, and it's really important to see them like well far in advance. I'm not expecting these to fire off today, by the way. It'd be great if it did, like just makes life easier, I guess. But at the end of the day, the market isn't here to make your fucking life easy. It's here to stick massive green and red dildos in your bunghole and come out your mouth hole. That is what the market is for. And that's why we love it, because we are gluttons for pain or pleasure, depending upon your disgusting disposition, you fuck. Anyways, my point is that these are brewing in the background. They're not there just yet, but you can see them start to slowly rear their ugly head. And of course, these can be applied to the downside. If Bitcoin fails, these pivots, and at that point, you're probably looking back down around very low 100s, maybe even under 100. It's very possible here. Have to remain agnostic and open-minded. But like I said, based off of this break over here, I do have a general upside bias after the short-term pullback. But if we don't see this thing move to the upside in a significant manner, I'd say by the end of next week, that to me is going to be a big warning signal, just for what it's worth. Anyways, yes. By the way, I probably should have said this earlier. I'm trying out a new service for these videos. I'm curious what your thoughts are of the like animations and whatnot. It's actually like quite easy for me to do, but do people actually give a fuck? That's the real question. Does it add anything to the presentation? Does it make it more engaging? I don't fucking know. You tell me. You let me know in the link, not in the link in the description below, but just in the comment section below. I will read them and it will be helpful. And perhaps we start a new tradition here. Maybe we make some more alien fingers as well, because that was pretty hilarious. Anyways, yeah, I think that pretty much does it here for Bitcoins. If you want some daily statistics, we can reference Caretaker's HBOS, which is the historical price action statistics indicator. Friday is a slight weight in favor of positive closures versus negative closures. As always, I'm much more interested in the average gain return and the average loss return. That gives us a nice range, which typically plays out incredibly well. In fact, we saw the top side of the average gain range once again hit on yesterday's range, I guess, if you want to call it that. Now I am looking at the range low again from a statistics perspective, likely around about 107,700. It's kind of what I'm saying earlier, like 108, give or take. And to the upside, if Bitcoin were to make another move to the upside, that would put Bitcoin on slightly new all-time highs, about 112. Yeah, about 112, a little bit over 112. So do keep your eyes on these numbers. If Bitcoin does get there, you're probably looking for a little bit of a counterplay, at minimum on the first pass. Other than that, I should once again let you know you can try out all of Caretaker's indicators actually for free in the link in the description below for Teachable. You can also get, like I said, 20% off with that code USA in all capitals, and you could try everything almost for free. Just about everything for free for 7 days. See if it's for you, see if it's not for you. If you want it, then the code is there for you. Get an extra discount. If you don't, then no strings attached. It's all good. Okay, cool. That's where we'll end things for today. As always, I wish everyone the best. Wait, let's go check in on the quantum wave bounds. Hold on. Have they done anything in the past couple days here? We haven't checked on them since, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday now. Yeah, this does look to me like it wants to come down in the short term. Let's see if it actually fails below these levels, though. Okay, so small win right, or actually decent win right here. Decent scalp right here. Very quick scalp right here. Yeah, not bad. I'll take it. So 3 wins in a row after a decent loss right here. Small gain right here. Decent win right there. Then we had some losses, the couple weeks before that. But at the end of the day, it's all about that equity curve. We can see it's starting to level out yet again. It's always funny to read the Discord for the quantum wave bands during these times because, people will join when something like this happens, after a slew of tremendous wins, it comes in and has a couple of big losses. You can see a big steep drop off of the equity curve right here. But usually these are signals. I mean, at the end of the day, the chart can be analyzed in the same way that you look at, a chart's trend. It doesn't remain in its uptrend. If it does, okay, all good. If it doesn't, okay, something new to do. But in this case, that's completely fine. You can see that this one looking like it actually is potentially putting in the next higher low right there. Again, quantum wave bands, also a part of that same deal. I'll let you be the judge of that as always. And, for the most part, you can even just look at these setups or these presumed entries and exits as like, in the same way as MetaZone, it's like it's a call to action. You got a high probability play here. You don't need to play it exactly as it's suggesting. You can see many instances where you could have gotten a better entry or better exit or both. Very possible. You can apply your own technical know-how to that. Is what I'm trying to say. All right, cool. That's where we're ending things for today. Again, happy 4th of July. It's been a nice week here, a very fast week. I'll be signing off on that note. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully. Wait, not over the weekend, but Monday.